In this tutorial, I will show you step by step how to make a full modular quest system that has multi-objective support, makes use of a service manager, I will explain later what that is, it has UI pop-ups, a menu, it allows easy creation of new quests, and so much more. I will explain every single concept in this video, unlike most follow-alongs where you just blindly copy. Nothing will happen in this video that doesn't get explained properly, so this video is the perfect lesson for beginners. Let's get right into it. Okay, so we're going to make a new project, call it Quest, System, Third Person Template, press Create. Now we're going to make a new folder, call it Quest. It's going to hold everything we're going to make in this project, and we're going to make some base folders to start. We're going to make one called BPs, another one called Data Tables, another one called enums, another one called Interfaces, another one called Structs, and another one called Widgets. This is everything we're going to need throughout this project. Go into the BPs folder, right click and make a new actor, call it BP_item. Then make another actor, call it BP_quest manager. Create another one and call it BP_service manager. We use the service locator pattern for this quest system to keep things clean and flexible. Instead of every NPC or pickup needing a direct reference to the quest manager, they just ask the service manager, which knows where all the important systems are. It's like a central phone book. You ask it for the quest manager and it connects you. This stops everything from being tightly connected, reducing dependencies between blueprints and making your code much easier to manage, update and reuse. Now go to the interfaces folder. We're going to make two interfaces. So search for interface, click on blueprint interface and create one called int_quest manager. Duplicate that and create one called int_service manager. We used interfaces in this system to let different blueprints talk to each other without needing to know what the other one is. An interface is like a shared agreement. It says, if you have this function, I know I can call it, no matter what blueprint you are. So instead of casting or making hard references, we use interfaces to send messages like start quest or update objective. This keeps everything flexible and decoupled so systems can communicate without being directly linked together. Now we are going to implement those interfaces we just created. So go to your BPs folder, go to your quest manager, go to class settings, then go to implemented interfaces, search add and add an int_quest manager. Compile, save, then open the BP_service manager, go to class settings again, go back to implemented interfaces and search again for int_service manager. Now we are going to create an enumeration to hold all of the different types of objectives we can have. So go to your enumeration folder, search for enumeration and add one. We used enums in this system to keep track of clear named options like different quest objective types, for example collect, talk or explore. Instead of using random text or numbers, enums give us a fixed list of choices we can select from. This makes the system easier to read, more consistent and less error prone. It's like having a drop down menu of valid options, so we always know exactly what kind of objective we're dealing with. Call it E_objective types. Open it up. Press add enumerator and type in reach location. Add another one. Call it kill target. Add another. Call it collect item. Add another. Call it talk to NPC. Add another. Call it interact with object. Another called wait. And finally, one called custom event. Save that and close the enumeration. Now we're going to make all of our structs. We use structures, or structs, in this system to neatly group together related pieces of data, like all the info for a quest or quest objective. Instead of creating lots of separate variables, a struct lets us bundle them into one organized package. For example, a single quest struct might include its name, description, objectives, and rewards. This keeps our data clean, reusable, and easy to manage, especially when storing things in arrays or data tables. So go to your structs folder, right click, search for structure. Then call it s_target data. If you want to access the source code for this project, not just from this video, but the entire completed system, you can find that on my Patreon, along with all my other systems, and it's a great way to support these videos. Add a variable, call it target name of type name. Another variable, call it target actor of type actor. Add another, call it target location of type vector. And finally, one called amount of type integer. Then we're going to make another structure. By the way, I recommend to keep all of your current structures open. Call the structure s_quest objectives. Call the first variable objective ID of type name. We use the objective ID in our system to uniquely identify each step of a quest, like find amulet or talk to villager. Instead of using something like an enumeration, which is a fixed list of options, we use a string ID so we can name each objective however we want, for any quest. This gives us way more flexibility and makes the system scalable. When the player does something in the world, like picking up an item, we pass the objective ID to the quest manager. It checks if that matches the current objective, and if it does, we mark it complete and move to the next step. Add another, call it description of type text. Another, call it is completed of type boolean. Another, call it objective type of type E_objective type. This is the enumeration that we just created. Add another, call it target data of type s_target data. This is again the struct that we just created. Then add another variable, call it optional, and set its type to boolean. Finally, add another variable, call it can complete in any order, again of type boolean. Save it, then we're going to make another struct, call it s_quest instance. Make a variable and call it quest ID of type name. Then add another, call it quest description of type text. Add another variable, call it current stage index of type integer. Add another variable and call it objective states of type sQuestObjectives. Make this an array. Add another variable, call it isCompleted of type boolean. Add another variable, call it isActive, again of type boolean. Now we're going to make another struct, call this new struct s_quest_data. Add a variable and call it quest ID of type name. Add another variable, call it title of type text. Add another variable, call it description, again of type text. A new variable called objectives of type s_quest_objectives, and make this an array. Add another variable, call it isRepeatable of type boolean. You'll need to make sure that you change it back to single from array. Add another variable, call it autoStart of type boolean, and add another variable called rewards. Now we don't have a struct for this yet, so we're going to make another structure, call it s_rewards. Open it up. Add three variables, called the first one XP, call the second one items, and call the third one currency. Make the first XP variable of type integer, make the second variable called items of type BP_items, and then make it an array. And the last one called currency, make it of type float. Now go back to your quest data structure and change that rewards to s_rewards and make it of an array type. Now I made one small error. Go to s_quest instance and change the quest description to type s_quest data. After you've done that, you can close all of those tabs. If you enjoy my content and want to learn more, come and join my Discord server. We're only 5 members off of 200 and it's a vibrant, active community of devs who would love to provide support and generally talk about game dev, myself included. You might find me in a voice channel and you can come and say hi. Now go to the data table folder, right click and search for data table, then make a data table of type s_quest data. This is very important that you get the struct right. Call it dt_quests. Open it up. Tables in the system to store all of our quest data in one clean, organized place. Instead of hard coding quests into blueprints, we put them in a data table so we can easily manage, update, or add new quests without changing any logic. Each row in the table represents a single quest, and it's based on a custom struct we made. The struct holds things like the quest name, description, list of objectives, and rewards. Then in the game, the quest manager can look up any of these quests by their ID and grab all the data it needs, like which objective to check or what to display in the UI. So data tables lets us keep all our quest information separate from the logic, and making the system more flexible and much easier to scale. I'm going to sort out the size of the rows, but you don't technically have to, it just looks nicer. Then we're going to add a new row and call it find amulet in the row name. We're going to copy this and also put that into our quest ID, so the row name and the quest ID are both called find amulet. Then in the title, we're going to put find the lost amulet. We're going to fill in a description. You could put this as anything, but I put the village elder has lost a sacred amulet. Find it and return it to him. We're going to leave is repeatable and auto start to blank. We're going to create 3 objectives by clicking on the plus button 3 times. On the first one, we're going to call the objective ID talk to elder. In the description, we're going to put speak to the village elder. Leave completed to false. The objective type is talk to NPC. In the target data, we're going to put the target name to NPC_elder. And we're going to put amount to 1. Now open up the second index. For the objective ID, call it find amulet. For the description, put in anything you want, something like find the amulet. For the objective type, put it to collect item. And for the target data, put the target name to item_amulet and put the amount to 1. Then close that index, open up the third one. In the objective ID, type return to elder. In the description, put whatever you want. I'm going to put return the amulet to the elder. Leave is completed to false. Put the objective type to talk to NPC. In target data, put the target name to NPC_elder and put the amount to 1. Now click the plus next to rewards. We're going to open it up. We're going to put XP to 50. We're going to put currency 100. Leave the items blank, but of course you could put this to whatever you want. Save all. In our system, you need to complete all of the objectives related to the quest. Then it will complete the quest for you, and you can choose if these quests are automatically started on begin play, or if you have to trigger an action to fire them, like speaking to someone, for example. Now open up the quest manager blueprint. You can remove the 3 default events. Go to variables, click on plus, call it active quests. Make it of type s_quest data and change it to an array. Add a new variable, call it quest progress, make it of type name, and change the type to a map. It will automatically map it to an index. We use a map, also called a dictionary, in our system to store and track quest progress in a simple, organized way. A map lets us pair 2 pieces of data together. In this case, the quest ID, which is known as the key, and the player's current progress stage, which is known as the value. Instead of making separate variables for each quest, we use one map where the key is the quest ID, like lost amulet. The value is an integer that tells us which objective the player is currently on, like 2 for the second objective. When the player completes an objective, we update the map with the new progress number for that quest. This way, we can easily check and update progress for any number of quests without extra variables, making our system clean, efficient, and scalable. Create a new variable, call it quest data table, and change the type to data table. Object reference. Make sure you go on the variable type and change it back to single. And now compile, and we can input the dt_quests we did in the default value for that data table. Duplicate the active quests to make a new variable, call it completed quests of type s_quest data and an array. That's why we duplicated the other one. Now go to the interfaces tab, open int_quest manager, create a new function, call it qm for quest manager _start quest. Go to the inputs, give an input, call it quest ID of type name. In Unreal Engine blueprints, interfaces let different blueprints communicate by defining shared functions. Input parameters are values you send into the function when you call it. For example, if you have a function like start quest, the quest ID is an input, you provide which quest to start. Output parameters are values the function gives you back after it returns. For instance, a function like getQuestStatus might output a status value telling you if the quest is active or complete. You define input and output parameters in the interface function itself. This tells every blueprint that implements the interface what data to expect. When you call an interface function, you provide the inputs needed, and if there are outputs, you can capture the returned values and use them. Now go to the int_service manager, again do the same thing, create a function, call it sm_startQuest, give it an input, call it quest ID of type name. Save that, open up the bp_service manager blueprint, then click Ctrl P to open the asset browser, and search for bp_third person character to quickly open up the third person character. You could also search for it in the content browser, but this is quicker. Create a new variable, call it service manager of type bp_service manager. Here I'm going to make it instance editable and expose on spawn, but you don't technically need to do that. Then go into the editor world and place in the quest manager and the service manager actors. Just place them in the world next to each other. We won't be able to see them when we start, so it doesn't matter where you place them, but a sensible spot. Go into service manager, add a variable, call it quest manager of type bp_quest manager. Pass it in as an object reference. This time this does need to be instance editable and expose on spawn, so we go back into the editor, we click on service manager, then we can select that quest manager variable and select quest manager. Go back to your third person character. Next to the add mapping context, search for get actor of class and search for service manager. Then fill in the variable we just created for the service manager. I'm going to add a comment here just to clean things up and make it nice. That's what I'm going to do throughout this entire project. You should too, it's just good practice. Then I'm going to search for keyboard event E. Then I'm going to drag in the service manager and search for sm_startQuest. It's important you search for sm, not just qm. Then off of E for pressed, we're going to search for get data table row names, input our dt quests data table, find the first array element of that outrow names, input it into sm_startQuest. Then we're going to go to our service manager, double click on the little golden key at the side under interfaces for start quest, get our quest manager, search for qm_startQuest, input the quest ID we just got through the event. Compile and save, then go to quest manager, double click on the qm_startQuest event, then drag off that and press print string, plug in the quest ID. This is how we're going to see if when we press E we are managing to start the quest. As you can see, we are successfully passing through the quest name, which means we can now start to implement the function for this start quest, but we'll do that in the next episode. We're just focusing on the setup. The last setup we're going to do is create the functions, create a new function in the quest manager, not in anywhere else, in the quest manager. Create a new function, call it start quest, give it an input of quest ID of type name. Then make a new function, call it complete objective, give it an input of quest ID, again of type name, and another one, call it objective ID of type name. The variable type will roll on, so you don't need to keep selecting it every time. Create a new function, call it update objective completion. Give it two inputs, call the first one quest ID and the second one objective ID, both of type name if you're not sure. Create a new function, call it check quest completed. Give an input of quest ID of type name. Create a new function, call it complete quest. Give an input of quest ID. Create a new function, call it check if quest has already been started. Give an input of quest ID of type name. For now, those are all the functions I'm going to complete. The last thing I did was I imported a bunch of these icons. As you can see, if you want to get the exact ones, you can find them on my Patreon with the rest of the project files, but you don't need them to follow along. You can completely for free find some other icons online. So we're going to open our content browser, go to our quest manager, find our qm_start quest, drag in our start quest, plug in the quest ID, then open that up. Off of the quest ID, we're going to search for get data table row. We're going to choose our dt_quests for the data table. Then we're going to drag in our active quests array, search for the function add, and plug in the out row to that function. Then we're going to create a local variable, call it temp progress, make it of type name, then change it to a map, which will automatically go to map to an integer. We're going to set that to our current quest progress. Then we're going to get our temp quest progress, search for add, then plug in the quest ID all the way from the beginning of the function, and leave the integer at 0. Now we're going to set our actual quest progress to our temp progress variable we just made. Then we're going to tidy things up. In Unreal Blueprints, you can't directly modify a map variable from its get node. It gives you a copy, not a reference, so when you try to add or update a value, it doesn't actually affect the original. To fix this, we copy the map into a temp variable, modify that, then set the original map back to the temp. It's just how blueprints safely handle map data. A little bit. Make some more space to drag in the check if quest has already been started function, drag in the quest ID. After that, search for a branch because we're going to add an output to this function which will tell us if we can run the rest or not. We want to drag in our completed quests and do a for each loop. We want to drag off the array element, search for break, then off of the quest ID pin, do an equals, plug in the quest ID. Then we're going to further expand the break and drag off is repeatable, search for not boolean, then search for an and boolean, plug in those two boolean values, and now do a branch. Plug it in, and on the true pin we want to return. To stop the function, we'll give it an output, call it can start, question mark, and leave it at false. Then off the completed pin do another for each loop, this time dragging in our active quests. Then get our quest ID again, just add a reroute node, Then we're going to break the array element, check the quest ID by saying equals, plug in the quest ID pin again. Then we'll do in a branch. And again, off the true pin, we're going to return false. What we're doing is we're checking if we have already completed this quest, if it's in the completed quest array, or if it's in our active quest array. And if we go through everything and it's not in any of those, the completed pin will fire where we return true. Then we come out, we plug in the cancel add into the branch. This next part is technically just for testing purposes, but I advise you to do it. Go to your active quests, quest progress, and completed quests. Set those 3 variables to instance editable and expose on spawn. Then if we start the game, go to our quest manager, you can see in our active quests, after we press E, 1 value gets added to our array. When we started the game, those arrays were both at 0, but after we pressed E, which is a function we set up in the last video, it added that. Now we're going to add in keyboard event R, search for get data table row, plug in the dt underscore quests. Off the out row, we're going to break, and we're going to get the first copy of the objectives function. This is where we're going to set up just a test for completing objectives. So basically, when we press R, we're going to complete the first objective. Now we need to go to our service manager interface and our int underscore quest manager to add some functions for completing objectives. We're going to make one called sm underscore complete objective in our service manager. We're going to add 2 inputs. We're going to say the first one is the quest ID of type name. The second one is the objective ID, also of type name. Then we're going to go our quest manager. We're going to do the same thing. qm underscore complete objective for the function name. Then 2 inputs, quest ID of type name and objective ID also of type name. If you want to access the source files for this project and just support me to make more tutorials, then you can do that by becoming a member of my Patreon or making a one-time purchase for $5, which is 500 Clash of Clans gems. Compile and save that. Then we're going to go to our third person character, drag off service manager, and search for that function. Search for complete objective, make sure it's SM, then plug in the quest ID and the objective ID. Then we're going to just add some comments to tidy things up, make it a bit neater. You don't have to do this, but again, it's good practice and you should do it. Not just for other people understanding your code, but if you come back in a year and you forgot what you did, then you'll have these comments to remind you why you did what you did. We're going to open up our service manager, get the complete objective function, double click on the yellow icon to drag that into the world. Then off the quest manager, we're going to say qm underscore completed objective, and we're just going to pass through the quest ID and the objective ID. If you don't remember why we set it up like this, I did explain why in the previous video, so you can go and get a refresher if you need to know why we had a service manager in between. Then in our quest manager, we're going to add in the complete objective function into the world, drag in the quest ID, the objective ID, then open up the function. We're going to search for print string, and we're just going to have a little demo just to show that it's working. So I'm going to add an append, then I'm going to say complete objective, add some spaces, plug in the objective ID. Again, you don't have to do this, I'm just showing you how it actually works. Every time you press R, which is the function we set up on the third person character, we're going to complete a function, which is going to call to this event. It's going to pass through the quest ID and the objective ID, and we're going to display those two things here. If you add spaces into one of the boxes, that does count. So on the C, I just added spaces in the text box, and that still counts. It will add spaces in the text. As you can see, I pressed R, then it said completed objective, talk to Elder, for quest, find amulet. We're getting through the quest and the objective we need to know. Great, that works. If you enjoy my tutorials and want to learn more and become part of a growing game dev community, then come and join my Discord server, link in the description. Now we're going to handle the actual functionality of this. So drag in the update object completion function, plug in the quest ID and the objective ID, and we're going to open that up. Drag in your active quest array, do a for each loop. This is a bit like what we did before. Off the array element, we're going to break. We're going to get the quest ID, double check with equals, plug in the quest ID. This is a very good method of checking if we are getting the right quest in our quest array. Then we're going to create another local variable, call it temp objectives, change its type to s_quest objectives, make it an array, then set the temp objectives array to the objectives off of the broken array element. Just add a rewrote node just to clean it up. Then we're going to have a branch. Then off the false pin, we're going to return. We're going to add an output. We'll call it completed, ? And we'll leave that as false. Then we're going to add a reroute node to the array element because we're going to bring it over here and use it off the true pin. We're going to break it again. We're going to get our objectives and we're going to do a for each loop on the objective. So now we've checked we've got the right quest in our array of quests. Now we're going to find the right objective in our array of objectives to update that. So we're going to break off the array element, get the objective ID, do an equals. We're going to pull over the objective ID all the way from the start, check if that's correct. Then we're going to do a branch. Then we're going to get our temp objectives. We're going to say set array element. We're going to update that item by saying make. Then we're going to add in the index from the for each loop, so we're updating the right index of that temp objectives array. We're going to break the array element, plug in all of those values the same except for is completed. We're going to say it's true. So what we're doing is we've made a temp objectives which is the same as our normal objectives, but then we've changed one of the variables to now be the updated version, so it says quest completed. Then we're going to set our normal objectives back to this temp objectives because there's no output after you've set an array element. If we say set array element on the objectives, it only updates the copy of the objectives we put into the world. Here you can see now we're just updating the quest. We're going to make the quest, we're going to break the quest from all the way at the start, the one we got from the for each loop, plug in the index again all the way from the first for each loop, which is the index. Then for the objectives, put in the temp objectives. After that, we're going to drag in our function for check quest completed. Recap what we've just done. We loop through all of our active quests to find the quest that has the same ID as the inputted one. Then, we loop through all of the objectives of that chosen quest and check its objective ID with the one inputted to find the right one. Then we update that objective to being completed. We have to use a temp objective because if we just set our normal objectives array, that change isn't replicated in the actual array, but just on that copy. So as soon as we leave the function, it's forgotten and we go back to the unchanged array. We're going to input the quest ID to that, then we're going to open that up. We're going to get our active quests, do a for each loop, connect the execution pin. Then once again, we're going to break the array element, get the quest ID, do an equals, and check with the inputted quest ID. Again, just making sure we're finding the right quest ID out of our array. Do a branch, then off the false, we're going to return, add an output, call it completed again, and leave it as false. Then we're going to get our array element, do some rewrite notes to break it over to the side. Then off our objectives, we're going to say for each loop. We're going to break the array element. We're going to get is completed, do a branch on is completed. Then off the false, we're going to do a return. And off the completed, we're going to do a return, but this time it's going to be set to true. Here, this loop works because if any of the objectives are set to false, then it will fire the return, which ends the function. But if they are all true, then we will trigger the completion pin, which is a return, but this time as true, as we know that all of our objectives had to be true for us to reach the completion pin. Compile that, save that, add a return node with that inputted boolean value, so now we can use it. After the updated objective completion, we're going to make a new local variable, call it temp progress of name, and it's going to be a map. We're going to set that map to our quest progress. Then we're going to do a branch. We're going to get the temp progress. We're going to find, and we're going to find the quest ID. Off the false pin, we're going to do a return, make an output. Here I call it output pin, but again, it's just sort of like, has the function succeeded or failed? Drag the integer value over, we're going to increment it. This is updating the value of completion on that temp progress value. So we're going to find the quest, then if the quest exists, we're going to increment its value by 1, so we know it's one more step towards completion. We're going to plug in the quest ID into that add to our temp progress. Add is the same as just saying update. You can't get one element and then update it. You have to just say add to essentially add it again, but it replaces the other one, so it's fine. Then we're going to set our quest progress to our temp quest progress. Then we're going to say get data table row of dt underscore quest. So we're going to plug in that quest ID for the row name. We're going to do a break. We're going to get the objectives. We're going to do a for each loop. We're going to plug in the execution pin to row found. We're going to break the array element, get the objective ID, do an equals. And here we can just search get objective ID. What this is doing is it's getting the objective ID that is inputted all the way from the beginning of the function. It's the exact same as dragging the pin all the way from the start, but it looks a bit cleaner. Then we're going to do a return node on the completion of that for each loop, and we're going to input the boolean value all the way from that first function with a reroute node. I'm going to compile and save. What we did here was find the index associated with our quest in our progress map, then increment this by 1. So we're finding the find amulet quest and changing the completion stage from 0 to 1 because we know we've just completed an objective. You can use this to track the percentage completion of your quest because you can divide the current amount of completed objectives by the length of the objectives list, then multiplying by 100. Then we're going to do a branch after the complete objective. This is all the way back in the event graph now. Then after that boolean branch, we're going to say complete quest, plug in the quest ID, open the complete quest. We're going to get our active quests, do a for each loop. Again, we're just finding the right quest in our array. We're going to do a break off the array element, do an equals off the quest ID, then a branch. We've seen this 100 times now. Plug in the loop body to the branch execution pin, get the quest ID, put it into the equals. Now we're good. We're going to get our completed quests array. We're going to search for add off of the true pin. Then we're going to add that array element. So now we're adding this quest to the completed quests array. Then we're going to get our active quest. We're going to search for remove. Then we're going to add in that same array element. So we've taken the quest. We know that we've just completed it because of the other function. We're adding it to our array of completed quests. Then we're removing it from our array of active quests. We're going to get our quest progress. Again, search for remove and plug in that quest ID. Because we've completed it, it doesn't need to be in our current quest progress. Then we're going to add a return node. We don't need any outputs, we're just finishing the function. Then we go back to our event graph. Here, what we have done is found the quest that we completed in our current quest array, added the quest to our completed quest array, and removed it from the current quest array. Of our third person character, we're going to search for keyboard event T and keyboard event Y. You could do this on whatever you want, but that's just what I did because it's in a row. We're going to control D after we've highlighted those functions to duplicate them. Then the only thing we need to change about this is change the first to get to the first index and the second one to the second index. So we're getting the first, third, and second quest. So if I find the quest manager, you can see on the details, I press E and it gives us the quest. That's where the quest just been added. Then I just pressed R. I open it up and I'll show you that it's not yet completed. But I just pressed R, T, and Y, so the quest got completed. If I scroll back up, it goes to complete quest. Cool. So again, what we've just done, when we press E, we started a quest. Then we knew we had 3 objectives and we pressed R, T, and Y to complete those objectives. Now they're completed. We press Control P to open up our browser. We search for dt_quest and we check is repeatable to true. Then I'll press E, R, T, and Y to complete the quest, and I press E again, and it starts the quest again. It'll only start it once because it won't restart it when we've already got it active, but that's how we can do it. Now we're going to go to our int_service manager, search for sm_auto_start quests, add the same function to our quest manager, qm_auto start quests. No inputs, no outputs needed. Then our third person character, after we set our service manager, we're going to search for the function sm_auto start quest, just give it a little comment so we know what we're doing. Then our service manager, we're going to get that. Then we're just going to call that function again from the quest manager, so we're passing from the third person character to the service manager to the quest manager. Now that quest manager knows we need to start the function, so if we double click on the key icon we can implement the function. After that we're going to say get data table row names to get all of the rows in our data table. Set the data table to dt_quests. Of course, we're going to do a for each loop on all the rows. Then we're going to say get data table row. Input that row name on the data table of dt_quests. We're going to break it. Do a branch because we're going to get the get auto start variable and plug it into the branch. Then after that, do the start quest function. So we're checking all of the items in our dt_quest. So we're getting all of our quests, and for each one we're checking have we pressed auto start or not. If we have, we're going to call the start function that we made earlier to start the quest, and if we haven't, do nothing. As you can see, I haven't pressed E and the quest has been started. We're going to go to our content browser, search for widget, and click a widget blueprint. We're going to call it WBP_started quest. We're going to open that up, place it next to the third person map, and we're going to drag in a canvas panel, then a size box. We're going to anchor the size box to the side and give it an alignment of 1. Then give it a position of roughly -200 and a size of roughly 300 by 150. It doesn't have to be exact, but that's what I've gone for. A size box is a UI container that lets you control the size, so width and height, of any widget inside it. We use a size box when we want to force a widget to a specific size, regardless of its content. For example, making sure all buttons are the same size, creating a fixed size quest pop-up, or preventing a text box from stretching too far. How does it work? You add a size box to your widget, then you set its width override and or height override, then place another widget, like a button or image, inside it. In short, a size box locks the size of a widget, which is perfect for consistent UI layouts. A canvas panel is a layout panel that lets you freely position widgets anywhere on the screen. You use a canvas panel when you want absolute control over things like HUD elements, pop-up UI that needs to appear in specific screen locations, or freely positioned elements for custom layouts. You drag in a canvas panel, then you add widgets to it, and you can use the anchor, position, and size settings in the details panel to place them exactly where you want. In short, a canvas panel gives you full control over widget positions, ideal for HUDs and custom UI. Next, we're going to add an overlay to our size box, then we're going to add a border to that overlay. We're going to horizontally and vertically align the border to fill fully, then we're going to change the color to black and the opacity to 0.25, then we're going to add a vertical box inside that border, then with 2 text blocks. The first text block is going to be called the quest name text, make sure it's a variable. The second one is going to be the quest description text. Make sure also that they are both variables. We're going to set both of them to auto wrap text. Well, you don't really need the quest title, but at least the description needs to be auto wrap text. We're going to change both of them to fill, the first one to roughly 0.25, and change the color to golden. We're going to change the text font to bold italic and change the opacity to 0.9 just to make it look a little bit cleaner. Then we're going to add a variable, call it quest info in the event graph of type sQuestData. We're going to break it, then we're going to set the name text using the set text function to the title of the structure that we just broke. Then we're going to get the quest description, then we're going to plug in the description as well. Compile, save, clean it up a little bit, cool. Now this is going to adjust to what we input. for the name and the description. We're going to make an animation. Click on the animations panel at the very bottom, call it slide in, then add your size box, then add a transform. We're going to go to the transform, and on the first one, we're going to change it, right? It's at 0, 0. We're going to change it just so it's off to the side, right? You can see how the size box has moved to the side. Then we're going to go to 0.25, and we're going to reset that X position, and it's going to have this sliding effect. And now we've just made an animation. Cool. That's all we need to do for the transform. Now we're going to add a render opacity to make it like fade in. So we're going to go to the 0 panel, and we're going to change the render opacity to just 0. Then we're going to go to 0.25 and change it to 1. Now we're going to go to the event graph, and we're going to use these animations. We're going to drag in the slide in animation. We're going to search for play animation. Then we're going to add a delay. We're going to have it 3 seconds, and we're going to go back to the designer. We're going to add a text block to the entire size box. We're going to make it quite big in font. Then we're going to change the angle so it's slanted and goes over our size box like at an angle. We'll change the text to completed. We'll change the color to green. This is going to be a little green pop-up message. It's going to pop up and just say completed when we've completed a quest. That's why we're doing it like this. And we're going to make another animation to make it like pop in. Compile and save, just adjust it how you want. All you need is just a big green text of your thing. Then we're going to make an animation the same way as before. We're going to this time choose the text block. When you press add, the green button for add, you need to choose what you want, and then we're going to click on the little plus button next to the name text block. We're going to choose render opacity just like before. At 0, 0 we're going to set a keyframe of 0, and at 0.25 a keyframe of 1. Now going back into the event graph, we're going to drag in that completed text. We're going to search for play animation, and we'll just leave it like that. I do have a little delay and then another thing afterwards. I added those off camera. That's fine, don't worry about that, because I'm going to come back and I'm going to do a little bit of adjustment, because in testing I was just playing around and I did something. So just copy what I've done on screen, right? It's just another slide animation with some delays. We will come back and adjust this slightly though, because there's something I do need to tweak. But for now, we're going to go to the quest manager. We'll close everything just to make it look a bit nicer. Then we're going to open the completed quest function. After this branch, we're going to make some room. We're going to search for construct widget, and we're going to add the widget we just created, WBP start quest. Make sure the quest info variable is set to instance editable and expose on spawn, because now we can refresh that node and we'll see it, so we can plug in the quest data we need. Just make sure all of the animation play times are all set to 0 in testing. I changed one of them to 0.25 just to see like how it worked. They all need to be set to 0. No matter what you see on screen, no matter what you think, set all of the play animations to 0. And then we're going to set the last two to reverse, because it's going to come onto the screen. Right, and then after the delay, we're going to play it again, but we're going to set the play animation to reverse, so it reverses and then it goes off the screen. So make sure the last ones are to 0 and to reverse. You might want to tweak around with it. I did it, just playing around with a bit of values. But here we're duplicating that widget. We're changing the names a little bit because I misnamed them. I called it started quest when it was like completed. Well, I called it started quest when it was completed. I had the completed text in there. So just change that, but otherwise it's just the exact same thing, copied and pasted. But we're just going to get rid of the completed text because we don't need it, right? We're not completing, so we just delete that. You know, we're going to play the first animation at 0 and play mode forward. Then we're going to delay 7 seconds. Then the next animation is play mode reverse at 0 seconds. Then we're going to go into our quest manager, go to the start quest function. At the very end, we're going to add a create widget node, WBP underscore started quest, plug in the quest info that we need. Cool. And then we need to say add to viewport. Make sure to say add to viewport after that. Before we get an error in our start quest, you just need to delete the pop-up for the green text animation, because obviously we're not using that now and it's still there, but it's not got a reference to the text, so just delete that. Yeah. Now if we start, you can see we've started the quest. The widget pops up on the side of the screen. Cool. Now we're seeing completed. That's because I clicked a button on my keyboard to make that pop up. Like earlier in the video, we looked at setting up the steps for the debugging and just practice keys, right? So that's just for testing. Then we're going to duplicate the widget again, call it WBP underscore completed objective. Make sure you duplicate the completed quest one, not the started quest one, because we're going to use the completed again. All we're going to do, we'll just change the names of these, so it's not quest, it's objective. And then we're going to go into our event graph. We're going to change the quest info to objective info. So change the type to sQuest objectives, then drag it in, break it, put the objective ID into the name, put the description into the description, and now when we call it, we're going to plug in an objective so we can display what objective has been completed. Now go to the BP Quest Manager, open up the completed objectives function off the branch at the very end. We're going to search for create widget. We're going to input the WBP underscore completed objective, then add it to viewport, and we can plug in the objective info from that for loop, right? It's the array element because we're looping through the quest to get all the objectives. Now, when we press completed, you can see on the side we pop up for completed, but there's an error, right? You can see they're all piling on top of each other. We do not want that, so now we're going to sort out where they all come one at a time, and if you pull up another one, it deletes the previous one, etc. So we're going to go into our quest manager, create a variable called active widget of type widget. This is going to track which widget's active, then if we try and make another one, we can delete the other one, etc. So go into our interface for quest manager, create a new function, call it QM underscore update active widget. Add another one, call it QM underscore get active widget. For the first one, add an input, call it widget of type widget. For the second one, give an output, again, of type widget, but that stays automatically. Now, we're going to go to our service manager and add the same functions like we've always done, sm underscore set active widget. I called one set and the other one update, makes no difference. You should probably call them both set, I just, whoopsies. Call it widget for the input, then of type widget for the input. Add another function called get active widget, obviously sm underscore output of widget of type widget. You know how it goes. Pretty simple. Close that down, go into our quest manager. Now we're going to implement our functions, right? First you declare them, then you define them. That's the whole thing of interfaces. So we're going to update active widget, and we're going to set our active widget, then we're going to get our active widget, and we're going to input that active widget variable. Same thing, we're going to go to our service manager this time. We're going to double click on sm underscore set active widget like before. We're going to get the quest manager, then we're going to call to qm update active widget. Then afterwards, we're going to double click on the grayed out key for get active widget. And then we're going to input it, right? So we're going to get our quest manager, then we're going to search for that function, qm underscore get active widget. We're going to input that outputted widget. So now when we call it, that's how we're going to get the active widget. Then we're going to go to our completed quest widget, make a little bit of room off the construct. Whoopsie daisies, I made a little oopsie. Apparently we're going to our player, so make an interface, call it int underscore player with a function called get service manager, call it service manager of type BP underscore service manager. We will come back and implement that little function I was going to add in the widget. We're just going to, actually we're going to need the service manager first, that's why we're setting this up. So go to your third person character, implement that interface, int underscore player, double click on the get service manager, input the service manager, because now when we go to our widget, we're going to say get service manager from our player. Then through the service manager, we can then find the active widget. Then we can check if it's valid or not. Then we can update that active widget. We can delete one if there is one. And then that's how we can just make sure there's one. So search for get player character, then get service manager, then sm get active widget. Then check if that's valid. And then if it is valid, search for remove from parent. Then after that, do a sm underscore set active widget. Make sure it's off the initial get service manager, not the second function we called. And on the is not valid, just make sure that goes under and connects to skip if it, so they both end up at the same thing, right? But only if it's valid we remove it first. We're going to copy and paste that function over into the WBP underscore completed quest, and then also we're going to do the same for our started quest. I had a little bit of a bug with this one. This was weird, right? Here it's telling me I've got those code already, but you've seen I haven't, and I never updated them. So I'm just going to delete them, get rid of that stuff, and then pull out the construct, and then just copy and paste them in again. If you get that bug where it shows that you have the code, but you know you haven't put it in, And then it won't work in the game, by the way. The code was there, but I tried playing. It didn't work. Just delete the functions, put them in. I've never seen that before, right? But now it's all fixed. You can see, you know, we're getting what we're getting. By the way, I made a WBP_HUD, literally just a widget. Go to the content browser, search for a widget called WBP_HUD. That's what I did. Now we're here. An overlay is a UI layout tool that stacks widgets on top of each other, like layers. We use an overlay when we want multiple widgets to occupy the same space, like putting text over an image, adding a notification icon on top of a button, or showing a quest pop-up over the gameplay UI. So how does it work? You drag an overlay into your widget, then you add multiple widgets inside it. All those widgets will stack with later ones on top of the earlier ones. In short, an overlay stacks widgets on top of each other, great for combining visuals in the same space. Now we're going to add a background blur, so go to Special Effects panel, add a background blur, just add it to the overlay. Then we're going to set the horizontal and vertical alignment to full. First we need to go to the overlay panel and set the anchors to full, then set the offsets all to 0 so it covers the entire panel. Now the background blur covers everything. Set the background intensity to 13. That you don't have to go 13, but I go 13 because it's like a nice number, right? And then add an overlay to the first overlay, and then add a size box to that overlay. Give it a width and height override of 1800 on the X, 50 on the Y. Give it a little bit of left padding to make it center. Then add a horizontal box to that size box. Vertical boxes and horizontal boxes are layout containers used to arrange widgets in a line either top to bottom or left to right. We use these boxes to build clean, structured UI layouts such as a list of quest objectives, a row of buttons or icons, or organizing labels and values next to each other. How do they work? You add a vertical box to stack widgets from top to bottom, and you add a horizontal box to line them up side by side. You can control alignment, padding, and spacing inside them easily. In short, vertical boxes stack widgets vertically, and horizontal boxes line them up horizontally. Perfect for clean, flexible UI layouts. Now we're going to search for a button, and we're going to add that button to the horizontal box. Now I'm going to search for a size box, add that size box to the horizontal box. Then we're going to duplicate the button and move it underneath the size box, so it goes button, size box, button. This is important because it reflects directly how they're displayed in the horizontal box. We're going to set all of them to fill. Then we're going to click on the size box and set it to 5. Fill just means that they'll automatically take up as much space as possible, and they're all in a ratio. So the button is set to 1, the size box is to 5, and the other button is to 1. That means 5/7 of the space is the size box, 1/7 is the button, and a 1/7 is to the other button, right? It's just a ratio, 1:5:1 to take up the maximum amount of size. I renamed the buttons to quest button and test button, and then for the normal and hovered, I set the tint to 0 on the opacity. That's just style, right? You don't have to do that. It makes literally no difference to the functionality, but I want to do it. I think it looks a little bit better. I'm going to add a text to both the buttons. On the first one, I'm going to change it to quest, and on the second one, I'm going to change it to test. The test button, we don't care, we're not going to do anything for that. It's just like, you know, make it 2, right? Looks better. But the to quest, that is going to be useful because we're going to set it to make it move to the quest widget page, right? To quest, pretty obvious. And then I just changed a little bit the font and the tint of the letters. Dim the color a bit, set it to 0.9 opacity. Whatever, right? Now we're going to add another overlay to the original overlay, so now we've got 2 overlays next to each other. The place is very important where they are in this hierarchy. Here we are using 2 overlays to essentially have 2 different UI pages we can switch between. We have a main UI tab, then we can move to our page for our quests. We can hide and display these pages on command to make it look like we're spawning in another, but really we will just display it or hide it. Now we're going to search for and add a text block to the quest overlay. Doesn't really matter what I do with the alignment right now, I'm going to change it anyways. So don't change the padding, right? I'm just going to set it back to 0. But on the quest overlay, make sure it's fully, takes up all the space possible. Then go back to the text block and set from the top, give it 100, and make sure it's aligned to the middle. You can see the horizontal alignment, I put it to the middle. I'm going to lower the color a little bit, just a little bit off white, and change the opacity to 0.9. You can make it bold italic as well and change the text to quests. Now we're going to add a size box again to the quest overlay. We're going to change its width override to 1800, the height override to 50, give it a little bit of left padding, about 50 to make it, look like it's in the middle. Then we're going to add a bit of top padding as well to make it go down a little bit from the top, right? You don't have to put the exact same values as I have, just make it go down a little bit. Then we're going to call that size box switch page buttons because that's what it's going to hold. We're going to add a horizontal box to that size box. Then we're going to add a button to that horizontal box. Then we're going to add not another horizontal box, but a size box. Then we're going to add, we're not going to add another button this time because we don't need one, right? This is the fully left side of the page, but it's exactly like what we did before. We're going to unhide the main overlay just so we can see the comparison between the two, just to make sure they're both aligned by the same amount, because this time when we set the horizontal box, or rather the switch box, offset 50 at the top, we know that they look on exactly the same position. We're going to go to the button, we're going to change the normal and hovered tint to 0 opacity to just make it invisible. Then to that button we're going to add a text block, we're going to call it to main because it's going to go back to the main page. Change the opacity to 0.9, lower the color a little bit off white, bold italic as you do. Then add a size box to the quest overlay. Again, it's very important, it's specifically to the quest overlay. Then we're going to add an overlay to the size box, make it fill everything. We're going to go to the size box, apparently not, we're going to add another size box to the quest overlay. Then we're going to add an overlay to that size box. We're going to make that fill everything. And we're going to add an image to that overlay, again, make it fill everything. Put the color fully black, put it 0.25 on the opacity so we can see through it mainly. We're going to add a border. We're going to do the same thing because I said, you know what, I'm just going to do that because who cares, right? Now we're going to delete the image because apparently we're using the border now, right? So delete the image we just made. Now, to be fair, it makes sense more with the border because you can cover everything, that's what it's meant to do. But we're going to add a horizontal box to that overlay as well, not on the border, on the overlay. Again, look at the hierarchy on my screen, it's very important, it's the same hierarchy, it's on the overlay, not the border. And we're going to change the size box, we're going to set it to center on the screen. Just change the horizontal alignment to that middled one to make it go to the middle. I'm going to raise the quest a little bit just so it looks cooler, but that's again just style preference. Call the size box quest description size box and quest display size box. Then add a vertical box to the quest display size box and add a horizontal box and a size box. So horizontal box first and a size box inside the vertical box that is on the quest display size box. We're going to make sure the horizontal box and the size box are both set to fill. The horizontal box needs to be on 0.1, 0.2 just so it takes up very little space. Then we're going to add a size box, then a button, then a size box, then a button, then another size box, because what we're going to have is we're going to have two buttons and they're going to, with a size box we can change how much space is between the two buttons. That's what's really useful, because if you have them all on fill, then we can change the fill amount on each of those size boxes so we can just tinker with things if we want to. Now we're going to search for a text block and add a text block to the middle size block. Center it with the vertical and horizontal alignment. We're going to call it active text. We're going to make it bold italic, lower the color a bit, because this is going to either say active or completed based off we are choosing to look at the active or completed quest, right? These two buttons, you can click on one of the buttons and it'll display active. That's why we go on the button and we go to hovered and press and change the image to the active one, which you get off the project files on my Patreon, but you don't need these, right? This is just style, you can go without these images and you're fine. So we just add the images to the hovered and normal image on both of the respective buttons. Call it active quest button and completed quest button, make them both variables, or they should be by active. A widget switcher is like a tab system. It holds multiple widgets but only shows one at a time. We use a widget switcher when we want different screens or UI panels to swap in and out, like switching between quest details and quest lists, changing inventory tabs, or switching between menus like settings, credits, or main menu. So how does it work? You add a widget switcher to your widget. Inside it you add multiple child widgets, like separate panels. Then use the set active widget index or set active widget node to choose which one is visible. In short, a widget switcher lets you show one on screen at a time from a group, perfect for making clean, switchable UIs. Now we're going to add a widget switcher. We're going to add it to our vertical box. You can child this to the size box, or you could just get rid of the size box and just have the widget switcher and the horizontal box. You just need to basically make sure you have your text block at the top, then the widget switcher underneath, and then in the widget switcher we're going to add two scroll boxes, one called active quest scroll box, another called completed quests scroll box. Just going to compile and save as you do. Then we're going to search for a vertical box and add that to our quest description size box this time. Then we're going to add a text block to that right at the very top. We're going to call it text underscore quest title. Make sure it's a variable. We're going to duplicate that. We're going to make sure both are on fill. And we're going to call this next one text underscore quest description. Again, it's got to be a variable. We're going to reduce the fill amount on the first one of the title to 0.25 just so it takes up less room. Then we're going to add a scroll box to the vertical box. We're going to make it fill. And we're going to reduce the fill amount on the quest description size box. A scroll box is a UI container in Unreal that lets you scroll through content if there's too much to fit on screen. We use a scroll box when we have a list of items that might grow, like a list of active quests, an inventory with lots of items, a quest log, or dialogue history. Instead of squishing everything into a small space, the scroll box lets players move through the list vertically or horizontally. So how does it work? You drag a scroll box into your widget, then you add other widgets inside it, like custom quest entries or buttons. If the content inside gets taller than the box, you can scroll through it automatically. Now we're going to go to our quest title text block, increase the size of the font, then go to the quest description, decrease the size of the font just as a distinction between the title and the description. Now we're going to go to the scroll box, call it objective description scroll box because this is where we're going to put the description. We're going to add an image, then make sure it's parented to that overlay. We're going to make it fill with the horizontal alignment and the vertical alignment. Just press those double bars on those little icons, and then we're going to add the quest image icon. We're going to make it a child of the overlay a little bit higher, and then we're going to align it to the right so it just covers half the side. You don't have to do that, that's just a style thing. And we'll change the opacity to 0.25 because then it looks a little bit cleaner and smoothes into the background. We're going to go on the quest title and the quest description. We're going to search for a wrap, and we're going to tick the checkbox for auto wrap text. And then we're going to change the opacity to 0.9, make it a little off white just so it's a bit cooler. Now we're going to go to our BP underscore third person character, go to our event graph, find a little bit of space off on the side, and search for keyboard event I. This is an event that will trigger every single time the keyboard I is pressed. Then go off the start next to where you auto start, then do create widget WP underscore HUD, promote that to a variable, call it HUD. I'm just going to add a little comment, right? HUD ref, show bubble when zoomed, nice and clean and readable. Then off the I, we're going to get the HUD, we're going to convert it to a validated get. We're going to search for remove from parent. Then we're going to say add to viewport. This just does a little check if we already have the HUD on the screen. Remove it so we can add a new one. Probably won't happen, but just in case. Then we're going to add the get player controller node, and we're going to get the HUD again, and we're going to say set input mode UI only. Then we're going to input that HUD to focus as the widget to focus, and we're going to input the player controller we just got. Then we're going to say set game paused, set the pause to true. Then we're going to make a little bit of space in between and say set show mouse cursor, and we're going to set that to true. This means that every time we click I, we're going to make sure we're in UI mode, we're going to pause the game, we're going to show our mouse cursor, and we're going to bring up this widget on the screen. We're going to open the content browser, goes to our widgets folder, open our WBP_HUD. We're going to close all the tabs to make it look a bit nicer. Then we're going to press the eye icon on the quest overlay to see what it looks like, just if it's hidden. This doesn't actually hide it, it's just like a show for us, but in the game it won't be hidden. Go to our canvas panel on the right, you'll see a visibility. Change that to visible, very, very important. Make that show as visible. Then in the graph on the details panel, there's a is focusable, make sure it's focusable, super important. Then go to the functions, click on the override, go to on key down, then double click on that to pull up the function. Off in key event, search for get key, then say equals, make sure you see it equals to I, do a branch off of that, then off the false, do a return node and get handled on the return node. You have to do handled, otherwise it won't work properly. Handled is very important, so then it can just continue after the function. On the true, search for remove from parent, then we're going to do set input mode to game only, and then get player controller and plug that into there. This is the exact reverse of what we did on our player character to undo those changes to set back into game mode. Then we're gonna say set show mouse cursor and we're gonna leave it to false. Then afterwards we're gonna say set game paused and leave that again to false, so we're unpausing the game and we're showing a mouse cursor. Here I'm going to add a return node and handled, so then we can actually continue out of this function, otherwise it will not work, so we need a return and handled. Now when we play, you can see we can open it and close it when we press I. Cool. Now back in our WBP_HUD, we're going to search for visibility on our quest overlay. So for our quest overlay, we're going to set the visibility to hidden. So as soon as we start the game, it's going to be hidden. We're going to go to our quest button, to quest button variable in our graph, or we can find it in designer. Click on clicked event to get that event pop up. Now we're going to go and navigate to our to main button, and we're going to find that. We're going to recall it to main because it wasn't called that already, and we're going to press on click. So now we have the events for when we click the event to go to the quest widget, and when we click to go back to main, we're going to set the quest overlay to visible, and then we're going to set the main overlay, so like the default overlay, to hidden, and then for the other one we can do the exact opposite. This means that every time we click to quest, we're going to show quest, hide the main. Every time we click to main, we're going to hide quest and show main. So now if I compile, save, go to the map, press play, you can now see if I click quest, we go to quest. If I click main, we go to main. But now we need to make the functions for those two completed and active quest buttons. So we're going to go back to our WBP HUD. I've said that a lot so far. We're going to find those buttons. We're going to find the active quest button and the completed quest button. We're going to get the on clicked event for both of them. Up until now, I haven't really touched on what buttons are and how we use them, because I think with the examples throughout the video, you've picked it up naturally. But I just want to make sure you guys really understand. A button is a UI element which offers you three main events: on clicked, on hovered, and on pressed. You can do more than that, but that's basically all we use them for, and it allows you to trigger certain events when one of those three things happen. They're very simple. Then we're going to go to our active text block and set its visibility to false, or to hidden rather, because when we start the game, we want this to not show. And then every time we click one of the buttons, so on clicked event for the active quest button, we're going to get this active test, we're going to set the visibility, set it to visible, so it only shows when we've clicked it, because otherwise it'll just have the default text when we open up. Then we're going to get the active text, then we're going to set it to active quest when we've clicked the active quest button. Then on the completed quest button, we're going to do the same thing, but just with completed quests instead on the text. So you can see, get the on completed quest button. When it's clicked, set the visibility to visible, and then change the text. Now I don't like it, it looks a little bit like too thick, so I'm just going to get rid of the quests on both of them, so it just says active or completed. I think it looks a bit better. So now you can see when we click one of the buttons, it goes active or completed. But when we start, it's hidden because we set the default of it to hidden. Now we're going to go to the content browser, we're going to make another widget, and we're going to call it WBP_quest display. This is what's going to show our quest, the information for our quest, so the type and the title in our active quest or completed quest row. We're going to add a size box, then another size box, make the first one 600 by 150 or whatever you want, really. To be honest, it's not too important. Then we're going to do the second size box, a panning of 10 overall. We'll add an overlay to that second size box, and we'll add a border to that overlay, make the border cover everything, and we're going to change the color to just a sort of blue color, change the opacity to 0.5. Again, you can do whatever you want, really. Here it's not too important, this is just for the style. Then add a horizontal box to the border and add an image to that horizontal box. Then we're going to add a text. We've done two size boxes inside of each other to give that a little bit of an offset because we're going to stack a bunch of them next to each other and it just gives a little bit of spacing between the borders. You need to make sure the text block is a variable. We're going to center it and we're going to call it quest name. Then we're going to call the image quest icon, make sure that's also a variable. Then go to the event graph. We don't need the other events, just event construct. We're going to make a new variable, call it quest data of type s_quest data. We're going to drag it into the event graph and say get. Then we're going to break it. Just going to expand it. Get the quest name and say set text. And input the title from that quest data. Then we're going to get the quest icon. Say set brush from texture. Then we're going to drag off of the objectives from the quest data. We're going to get, and we're going to get the first one, so just of index 0. We're going to break it. Just resizing things a little bit. Then off the objective type, we're going to say select. I'm going to plug in the return value into the texture. And I'm just going to choose each of the icons I have for these inputted icons. Again, you'll have these if you got them off my Patreon, but you don't need them. Again, you can follow this without having these icons, it's fine, but if you want them, you can get them on my Patreon. Then off the quest name, we're going to drag off and we're going to say set color and opacity. We're going to do a select, and we're going to plug in the isCompleted boolean into that index. Then off the false, we're going to search for make. We're going to give it like an orangey color. Off the true, we're going to again search for make, and we're going to give it like a greeny sort of color. So if it's completed, it will be green, and if it's not completed, it will be orange. Now this is slightly incorrect because we're only doing this based off the first objective in the quest. I will come back and change that later, so if you just keep following the video, we'll correct that later in the recording. We're going to make another widget, call it WBP_objective description. This is the description box that's going to go into the description. Every time we hover over a quest, it's going to pop up into our widget. We're going to add a size box, give it a width override of 600 and a height override of 250. You don't have to follow this exactly. Then we're going to select it to desired on screen. We're going to add a vertical box to an overlay that we added to the size box and a text to that vertical box. And then another text to the vertical box. So we're going to have the objective name and then the objective description. We're going to change the title of the first text block to objective name and the second one to objective description. These both need to be variables, so make sure you take that is variable button because we're going to change them. Now we're going to set both of them to auto wrap text and set them both to fill, with the second one having a fill ratio of 3, so 3 to 1. And we're going to just align them so they look a bit better. The first one, the size, I'm going to change it to 30. And then we're going to go to the graph. We're going to make a new variable, call it objective data of type s_quest objectives. Make sure it's instance editable and expose on spawn. And the same for the one in the quest display. The quest data in quest display also needs to be instance editable and expose on spawn. Then we go back to the objective description, drag in the objective data, break it, then set the objective text on the objective name to the objective ID of our objective data. We're going to get the objective description, search for set text, and input the description. Compile and save, then go back to our HUD. Go to the graph. And we're going to collapse these nodes on clicked to a function. Call it set active quests. And the same one for when we click the completed quests, we're going to say set completed quests function. Then in our active quests function, what we're going to do is we're going to get the widget switcher for the boxes. Just rename it to quest widget switcher so it's a bit easier, but it's just the widget switcher we need. We're going to drag it in and we're going to say set active widget index, and we're going to set it to 0. So that means every time we click this button, the active widget on this widget switcher will be 0, so it's going to display this specific page. You don't need to create this variable, I'm just about to delete it. Yep. We're going to search for get player character. We're going to drag off that and we're going to say get service manager, calling from the interface we made earlier. Compile that, save that. Then we're going to go to our interface. We're going to go to our service manager interface. We're going to add a function, call it sm_getActiveQuests. give it an output, call it active quests of type sQuestData, and make it an array. Then we're going to add another function called sm_get_completed_quests. We're going to give it another output of completed quests, and it will be the same type, sQuestData of an array. In our quest manager interface, we're going to add the same function, so add one called qm_get_active_quests, give it an output, call it active quests of type s_questData, and make that an array. Then add another function, call it qm_get_completed_quests, again with an output, call it completed quests, and it will automatically be of the type s_questData. Now we're going to open up our quest manager to implement these functions. So we're going to open up the quest manager and the service manager. So in the service manager, we're going to double click on the grayed out key for get active quests and get completed quests. Then on the get active quests, we're going to get the quest manager, drag off and just say get active quests. We're going to plug in the active quests array. Then we'll do the same thing in get completed quests. Drag in the quest manager, drag off, search for get completed quest, make sure it's QM not SM, otherwise you'll get an error. Drag in the completed quest, compile and save. Now we'll implement those on the quest manager as well. So go to the quest manager, we'll just do the same thing with the functions, but this time we're actually plugging in the active quest array because we have it. And then on the completed quest, we'll drag in the completed quest array because again, we actually have it. Go back to our WBP_hood, and now we can drag off that get service manager and search for get active quests. And off that outputted array, we can do a for each loop and search for create widget. Then search for WBP_quest display, plug in that array element. Now we're going to go back to our designer to get our active quests scroll box, and we're going to say add child, and we're going to plug in that element. Now we need to go to the start, we need to get that scroll box again, and we need to say clear. Every time we try to update these active quests, we're going to get rid of all of them first, then add them all back again, because otherwise we'll just be adding them again and again and again, and we're going to have a massive list of ones that we've already seen multiple times. Right, now we're just going to do the same thing in the set completed quest function. So we're just going to copy and paste over the set active widget index and the get service manager. Make sure to change that index to 1. I didn't do it there, I'll do it later, but make sure to set the active widget index to 1 on that. Then we're going to say get completed quests off the quest manager, do a for each loop, do a create widget, search for the quest display, plug in the array element into that for the quest data. Then get the completed quest scroll box, and again just say add child to add it to the scroll box. Plug in the return element. And then at the very beginning, again, we'll get the scroll box again and just say clear. You could try to do it without the clear and see what happens, but you'll just get loads of the same ones stacking on top of each other every time the function calls. Now here I'm clicking on the completed button and it's not working, and that's because I didn't change the active widget index to 1. Like I said, it's still on 0 because I copied and pasted it over, so make sure to change it to 1. And now you can see if we go to our quest, we click on active, we see the active. If we click on completed, we see the completed, and there's nothing there because we don't have any completed quests yet. But if we had some, they'd show up exactly like that. It's all good. So we're going to go back to our quest display, and we're going to add a button. We're going to add it to the overlay, then we're going to click Control X on the rest, and we're going to say Control V again to paste it onto the button. Control X just like deletes it, but it makes a copy of it so you can paste it again. And we're doing this so that we can hover over the button and get that on hovered event. So if we click on the button, click on the on hovered event, we can say get player character. Now we don't actually have an interface for the HUD yet, so we're going to go back to the player interface. We're going to open it up, we're going to make a function, call it get HUD. With an output, call it HUD of type WBP_HUD. Then we're going to go to our third person character, open the interface, click on get HUD, input that interface into the output, and go back to our quest display. Off of the get player character and search for get HUD. Now we have a reference to the HUD, and we're just going to say print, just so we can see that it's actually working, so we know, just for testing, right? Every time we hover over the button, we should be seeing this text. Yeah, there we go. Every time we hover over the button, that's why we want to show the text description in the text block on the right. So every time we hover, we're going to show the description of that specific text. And as you can see, every time we complete a quest, it gets added to the completed quests. So we're going to go back to the WPP HUD, we're going to say event construct. And every time we run event construct, we're going to clear both of the scroll boxes just to make sure it's been reset from the last time we opened it, and we can make it again. So get the active quest scroll box and the completed quests scroll box, and just make sure copy and paste it over and search for clear children, or you could add them in again. Compile that, save that, go back to our quest display, and we're going to make a function in the HUD called display quest descriptions. We're going to add an input, call it quest data of type s underscore quest data. Then we're going to go back to our wbp underscore quest display. Off of that get HUD, we're going to search for display quest description and input the quest data that we have as an exposed variable. Then back in that function, we're going to break it. We're going to do a for each loop off the objectives, and every time we're going to search for create widget, call it wbp underscore display, or rather that's the class we're creating, input the array element for the data. Then we get the objective description scroll box, so we're going to say add child, plug in the return value into the element, and at the very beginning, again, we're just going to say clear children. That's just standard, otherwise it's all going to add on top of each other and we're going to get too many show up. Compile that, save that. Just make a little bit of room at the front. We're going to move that a bit further forward, and we're going to update the text block for the name of the quest and the description of the quest overall, because now we've done the objective description, we need to do the quest description. We're not going to make a separate thing for that because it's just two. We're going to get the quest title and the quest description, drag them both in, search for get, and then off both of them we're just going to say set text. For the quest title, we're going to input the title of the broken quest data structure. Then for the description, we're just going to plug in the description like we've done so many times. Now if we play, you can see every time we hover over the quest, we get all the descriptions pop up, and you can see the title of the quest at the top. We're going to go to our WBP objective description, and then we're going to copy and paste over our set color and opacity from our quest display into here, just this little set of nodes, so that we can, change the color and opacity of the objective name and the objective description. We're going to open up the quest data that we broke, and we're going to plug in the is completed boolean into that boolean reroute node we have into the select, so we can choose based off if it's completed or not, if we're going to set the color opacity. So now we're going to set up a function for checking if the quest has been completed overall or not. We're going to get rid of this for each loop. So we're going to set up a function. We're going to call it check if quest is completed. It's going to take an input of quest of type s underscore quest data. You could just drag in the quest data that we already have, but I'm just doing it as an input because I guess it's just instinctual, really, just kind of how I thought I'd do it. Drag in the quest data into that function, but again, we've already got access to it, so you could just use it directly. And then we're going to add a return node so that we can add a boolean output, right? So we can say if it's succeeded or not, and we can do a branch off of that. So make a output node, say completed, make it into a branch, and we're going to plug that into the select. For now, it's not really doing anything by itself, but we're going to plug it all up, and we're going to go back to the function, and we're going to implement the functionality for the function. So we're going to break off the quest, get the objectives, do a for each loop, then we're going to do a branch off the loop body. I'm going to get the objective, we're going to search for get copy, we're going to break it, then we're going to input the is completed, and if it's false, we're going to return false. And after completed, we're going to return as true. This isn't working right now because I forgot to do a little part. You've got to input the index into the get copy, because otherwise we're always getting the first copy. We said get copy and it was on index 0, so there we're always checking the first copy. So if the first copy is true, then the entire quest will be set to true, but we need to input the array index into that get copy. I will notice in just a second. Yeah, so here you can see back in that function, just plug in the array index into the index on the get. Now if we compile and save, we run the game again, you can see the quest is displayed as orange because it's not completed. We completed 2 and it was still orange because not all 3, but now all 3 are completed because they're green. So what I'm showing you now is just a little display for how the quest system could work if you implemented a quest. If you can see, we've got the active quest for Find Lost Amulet, we've got the 3 objectives, none of them are completed, but when we talk to this dude, we're going to complete the first part of the quest, talk to Elder. We can open up our quest, we can have a look. It's green, we've completed it, we've got the widget pop up, great, we know it's completed. Now we're going to run over, we're going to pick up the amulet, which is just this sphere, but you know, find amulet. Now that's going to say completed. If we check again, now it's gone to green because we've completed it. So if we talk to the elder now, it's going to complete the last part of the quest. It's not really important to show you how to do this because I have showed you how to do it with making all those functions, right? To set up something like this, you can set up anything. You just use the functions that we made. So this is just a display. You don't really need to have this, but again, it's in my Patreon if you wanted this exact setup. Thank you for watching all the way until the end. I hope you've learned a lot from this tutorial, and if you have any questions or trouble getting the system working, then come and ask me on Discord. The link to my server is in the description. But of course, you can just join to talk about game dev and find some cool people to learn with. You can get the project files for this on my Patreon. It's a great way to support my channel and allow me to make more videos whilst also getting access to some great systems. If there are any topics you would particularly like me to cover, then please let me know in the comments. I'm thinking about making some beginner C++ in UE5 tutorials, so let me know if that would interest you guys to take your programming skills to the next level. Goodbye.